Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to a news cycle on Global TV live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I'm Mofwegbe. The federal government and the consortium have signed a memorandum of understanding for the construction of 100,000 housing units across the country under a public-private partnership agreement. The MOU, which the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Dangiwa, signed on behalf of the federal government, would have the consortium provide construction finance and build the housing units to completion based on agreed housing designs and prices. Dangiwa said the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development would facilitate the provision of affordable mortgage loans to off-takers through the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. He also disclosed that the ministry would facilitate the approval and grant of legal titles of select lands for the projects across the country. The Senate has approved the extension of implementation of the Supplementary Appropriation Bill from 31st December 2023 to March 31st, 2024. The move comes after the leader of the Senate, Opeyemi Bamidele, presented an amendment to the 2023 Appropriation Bill and the 2023 Supplementary Appropriation Bill to allow for the life of the bill to extend beyond December 31st, 2023 as stipulated. Bamidele Opeyemi explained that the 2023 Appropriation Act provided that the budget runs for 12 months from January 1st to December 31st, 2023. He noted that the funds for the 2023 Supplementary Appropriation Bill are unlikely to be utilized if the capital implementation is not extended. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, put the bill to a voice vote after the third reading, where the senators affirmed its approval. The Supreme Court has upheld the election of Governor Peter Mbah of Enugu State. The Apex Court, in a unanimous decision by a five-man panel of justices, dismissed an appeal that the Labour Party and its candidate Chijioke Edoga filed to challenge the outcome of the governorship election that held in the state on March 18. According to the Apex Court, it found no reason to dislodge the concurrent verdicts of the Enugu State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal and the Court of Appeal in Lagos, which dismissed all the allegations the appellants raised against the election victory of Mbah of the People's Democratic Party. Scores of people on Friday stormed the government house in Port Harcourt, Rivers State capital, to protest the presidential intervention in the political crisis rocking the state. The protest was also in solidarity with the state governor, Siminalayi Fubara. The protesters included students, youth, civil society organizations, labor unions, and members of the Hausa community in the state. They occupied the government house along Azikiwe Road in Port Harcourt. In an effort to maintain transparency and in keeping the public informed, Vaccine Network for Disease Control, VNDC, has held a conference in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, to address the complexities of Nigeria's commitment to immunization funding and co-financing obligations aimed at addressing associated challenges and unveil the strategic response to secure the future of critical health programs in the country. Our health correspondent Fuzia Lukman tells us more.
Driven by the mission to save lives and money as a critical tool for achieving sustainable development goals as part of the Universal Health Coverage and Immunization Agenda 2030, the Vaccine Network for Disease Control called for addressing the complexities of Nigeria's commitment to immunization funding and co-financing obligations. In her remarks, Chika Ofo, founder of Vaccine Network for Disease Control, appealed to the Accountant General of the Federation to kindly approve the release of the immunization funds to ensure the seamless implementation of critical immunization programs.
If these funds are not released by 31st of December 2023, the funds will expire and cannot be used subsequently for procurement of vaccines and devices. We implore, we beg the Accountant General to consider the urgency of this matter and kindly grant approval to release the allocated funds. With her support, we can fortify our commitment to public health and continue the progress made in safeguarding our nation against preventable diseases.
Speaking on vaccine financing, accessibility and funding in Nigeria, the chair of Meaningful Adolescent and Youth Engagement, Olympus Adebanjo, said,
Government stakeholders need to align with the current president as he has decided to prioritize health, to actually act accordingly and release funds for this. So what we are talking about for 2023 is still very valid in making sure that there is vaccine in 2024. If this is not released, it will definitely jeopardize vaccine supply in 2024.
Speaking further on the projection of the budget on paper, Oyeyemi Pitu of the African Health Budget Network called on the federal government for fund release.
The issue is the release of the funds. So we know that budget is actually on paper, is a projection. What really is important is actually the release and utilization of these funds.
Highlighting the core value of the conference, the Initiative for Rural Development and Peace National Coordinator Ahambe Hope said,
Hospitals, when you visit homes of children with special needs, you would appreciate what we are talking about. Vaccine is the heart of health system strengthening. If you want to strengthen your health system in any country, your vaccine system procurement, provision, and access must be top-notch.
Fauziya Lukman, Global TV News.
Thank you, Fauziya. The Nigerian Navy Board has promoted a total of 58 senior officers to various ranks in the service. The breakdown of the promotion released showed that 28 Navy captains were elevated to commando, while 30 commandos were promoted to the rank of Rear Admirals. Director of Information, Commando Adedotun Ayo Von, in a statement on Friday, said board approved promotions of the senior officers on Thursday. Watching the news cycle live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja, we're on StarTimes Channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using a Global TV and other handles now showing on your screen. When news cycle returns, BVN enrollment nears 60 million ahead of CBN deadline. The news continues shortly with details of these and more stories for you right after this short break. Please do stay with us. This is Global Television, bringing you live broadcast of News Cycle with Uyi Agmofwebe. On the foreign scene, Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema on Friday blamed private creditors for holding up a long-sought debt restructuring deal for the first African nation to default after the COVID pandemic. Zambia, which had $18.6 billion in debt when it defaulted in 2020, struck an arrangement in principle in October with foreign lenders. Hichilema said about 98% of official creditors have now signed a memorandum of understanding to restructure Zambia's debts, which was estimated at $32.8 billion at the end of 2022. He urged official and private creditors to meet to work out the numbers and resolve the impasse. Ghana followed Zambia in defaulting and is also in talks with creditors and the International Monetary Fund, IMF. The United Nations says Gaza is at risk of famine if the war between Israel and Hamas continues. A quarter of households, that is roughly 500,000 people, are facing catastrophic conditions, and that's according to a United Nations Food Security Agency report. It says the territory's entire population of roughly 2.2 million people is suffering acute food shortages. Humanitarian access is needed now for supplies to flow into and throughout Gaza and for civilians to safely receive life-saving aid. The report was published on Thursday by the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, IPC, a UN body that assesses food security in places affected by conflict or natural disaster. Trucks have been bringing aid into Gaza from Egypt for weeks, but the World Food Programme, WFP, recently estimated that just 10% of the food needed is currently getting into the territory. The UN Security Council is, in the meantime, trying to agree on a vote calling for more aid to get into Gaza. The vote has been delayed for several days over the wording of the text. France has joined a list of countries that have imposed immigration restrictions on international students, including Nigerians, with new legislation that will stop them from bringing their families to the country. The law passed by the parliament on Friday provides a new toughening immigration policy that makes it more difficult for migrants to bring family members to France and delays their access to welfare benefits. It also banned detaining minors in detention centers, while leaders of a third French region said they would not comply with certain measures in the law. A controversial provision discriminates between citizens and migrants, even those living in the country legally, in determining eligibility for benefits. Czech authorities have sought a motive on Friday in students' gun attack that killed 13 people at a Prague university, where tearful mourners have left a sea of candles to grieve for the victims. The gunfire on Thursday at the Charles University's Faculty of Arts sparked frantic scenes of students running from the attack that was the Czech Republic's worst shooting in decades. The gunman, a 24-year-old student, killed himself after shooting dead 13 people and wounding 25 others. The government has declared a national day of mourning on Saturday, with flags on official buildings to be flown at half-mast and people asked to observe a minute silence at noon. Let's turn to business quickly. Investors are in an optimistic mood as the NGX this week has soared to new highs, indicative of a Santa Claus rally. This week, the NGX's all-share index has appreciated by 1.39%, closing at 73,397.71 points as of December 2023, representing an all-time high in the market. Equities have also gained 551 billion naira this week as the market's capitalization has appreciated above 40 trillion naira for the first time. The Santa Claus rally is a term used to describe a seasonal increase in stock prices that often occurs in the last weeks of December and extends into the beginning of January. It is named after the festive season and the idea that investors tend to experience a boost in stock markets during this time. The federal government has apologized to Nigerians over the current cash crunch nationwide, adding that the scarcity will ease in the coming year. Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris made this disclosure in a statement during a press briefing in Abuja. According to him, the current scarcity of the Naira notes is not deliberate. He added that the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, is doing everything possible to address the situation. He emphasized that there will be more cash in circulation in the new year. Meanwhile, the CBN, as of 18 December 2023 deadline, approaches for the registration for the bank verification number. The number of registered Nigerians has hit 59.9 million. This is according to the latest BVN registration data updates released by the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System, NIBSS, issued in September, showing that the number of registered BVN stands at 58.7 million as of September 12, 2023. While registration for the number has been delayed since the beginning of the year, the Central Bank of Nigeria's recent statement that all bank accounts without the BVN would be frozen beginning in April 2024 has pushed the BVN database a little higher. With the most recent statistics of 59.9 million, this indicates that over 1 million new BVNs have been registered in the last 3 months. Let's talk some sports now. The Super Eagles of Nigeria have extended 2023 as Africa's 6th best team and 42nd in the world, according to FIFA's monthly rankings. The year 2023 has largely been an impressive one for the Eagles, who suffered only 1 defeat but recorded 4 wins and 3 draws. On the African continent, Morocco retained their #1 spot and 13th in the world. They are followed by second-place Senegal, who also maintained their 20th place in the world. Tunisia also remained unmoved in the current ranking as they are placed 3rd in Africa and 28th globally. Algeria and Egypt, who complete the top 5 places in Africa, also finished the year in 30th and 33rd position in the world, respectively. Let's join Anthony Mamadou for more details on sports.
Hello, sport friends. Welcome to Sports News Update. Let's begin with tennis. After finding herself with extra breast milk on a trip to New York, tennis legend Serena Williams decided to donate it to mothers and babies in need. Williams, 42, shared the story on her Instagram account. She showed a fridge where the milk was being stored with a caption sharing how fulfilled she felt after the act. On a recent trip to New York, I had leftover breast milk, Williams captioned. After going through a screening, I was able to donate it instead of taking the milk home. The 23-time Grand Slam winner is a mother of two with her husband Alexis Ohanian. Their first daughter, Alexis Olympia, was born in September of 2017. 5 years later, the family expanded with the birth of their second daughter, Adira, in August. The new plan for the European Super League has been reviewed after the breakaway competition was given a boost by a court ruling on Thursday. The European Court of Justice ruled that UEFA and FIFA were found to have acted against competition law in their blocking of the creation of a European Super League in 2021. The binding ruling handed out marked the latest stage in a legal process initiated by the European Super League company after clubs who participated in the breakaway plans were threatened with sanctions by the governing bodies while they faced a barrage of overwhelming criticisms. The new format, which was revealed by A22 CEO Bernard Richard, was immediately rejected by clubs including Manchester United, Bayern Munich and Atletico Madrid. It will see both a men's and women's competition with 64 teams competing in the men's and 32 in the women's. Arsenal and Liverpool are the only two Premier League clubs from the Big Six yet to publicly distance themselves from European Super League relaunch after a landmark court victory could boost the breakaway attempt. Manchester United immediately rejected the proposals, as did Bayern Munich and Atletico Madrid. Manchester City, Chelsea and Tottenham reiterated their loyalty to UEFA competitions later in the day. Liverpool and Arsenal are understood to still be against the scheme, both after apologizing to fans over their initial involvement. But with the two clubs stopping short of issuing a statement this time around, Arsenal supporters trust called for their club to do so. Arsenal should immediately reassure their supporters by joining all the other clubs and the major footballing bodies in rejecting any form of European Super League. Rishi Sunak and the government have vowed to ban Premier League clubs from competing in the European Super League after the breakaway competition unveiled its new plans on Thursday. The European Court of Justice ruled that UEFA and FIFA were found to have acted against competition law by blocking of the creation of the European Super League in 2021. The decision prompted European Super League backers A22 to reveal their revised proposal, which includes both men's and women's competition as well as the promotion and relegation. The fresh format, which was unveiled by A22 CEO Bernard Richard, was immediately rejected by clubs including Manchester United, Bayern Munich and Atletico Madrid. Manchester United and the rest of the Premier League Big Six sparked fury from their own supporters in 2021 after secretly agreeing to the initial European Super League plans. The clubs later backed out of the plans following extreme backlash. And wrapping it up, former Paris Saint-Germain coach Christophe Galtier has been acquitted of racism allegations leveled at the manager during his time at the Ligue 1 side Nice. Galtier was taken to police custody in June towards the end of his tenure at the Parisian Giants and charged with moral harassment and discrimination based on membership or non-membership, true or supposed, of any ethnic group, and multiple allegations of racial discrimination and Islamophobia. The allegations stemmed from a damaging leaked email sent by then Director of Football Julian Fournier to Ineos Director of Sport Sir Dave Brailsford. Therein, Fournier describes a meeting he had with Galtier. The 57-year-old was alleged to have discussed the racial makeup of the squad and hoped for reduction in the number of Muslims in this Jim Ratcliffe-owned team. A number of Garcia's former players offered up testimonies during the one-week-long trial, which would have seen the ex-Lille board served with a 12-month suspended prison sentence and 45,000 euros fine if he had been found guilty. And that's how we call it a wrap on the Sports News Update. I am Anthony Momodu. Hello, sport friends.
Thank you, Anthony. And that's it on News Cycle, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Well, Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using our Global TVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. I'm Uyag Mofwebe, thanking you very specially for watching. I'll see you again.